right, today we're going to try and demystify the huge, and let's be honest, kind of confusing field of modern psychology. Because what you think it is, well, that's probably just scratching the surface. So let me ask you something. When I say the word psychology, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Seriously, take a second. What's the image? For most of us, it's usually one of a few classic pictures. So was it maybe one of these? The comfy therapist's couch? Somebody talking about your dreams? Maybe even those classic images of lab rats running through a maze. These are totally iconic for sure, but they're just one small piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. Okay, so the best way to really wrap your head around modern psychology is to think of it like a massive toolkit. Each different branch is a specialized tool, perfectly designed to answer a different question about who we are and why on earth we do the things we do. All right, so for part one, let's grab the first set of tools from that kit, the ones that help us look inward. These tools are all about answering that fundamental question: how do I actually work on the inside? First up, we've got cognitive psychology. Think of this as the study of your mind's own personal operating system. This branch is obsessed with the how of thinking. You know that feeling when a word is right on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't grab it? That's exactly the kind of thing cognitive psychologists get excited about, because it tells them something about how our memory is built. It's all about our mental software. Okay, next tool in the box takes a completely different angle: behavioral psychology. So if cognitive psychology is about the software, behavioral psychology, well, it doesn't really care what's inside the black box. It only cares about what you can see, our actions. The whole idea is that our environment shapes what we do. For example, a kid getting a sticker for cleaning their room, that's positive reinforcement in action. It's all about how we learn from the world around us. And the last tool for exploring our inner world gets right down to the nuts and bolts, the hardware that all our mental software runs on. This is biological psychology. This is where it gets really fascinating, because this branch looks at the direct link between our physical body and our mental state. It asks questions like, how can a tiny imbalance of chemicals, neurotransmitters in our brain, totally change our mood? It's where our biology and our behavior literally connect. Okay, so we've got these incredible tools to understand how the mind works. But what happens when we need a little help, or just want to navigate life a bit better? Let's dive into part two and see how psychology can actually help us. Now, this is a distinction that trips a lot of people up, so listen close. Clinical psychology is the branch that deals with diagnosing and treating serious mental health conditions. Think things like PTSD or major depression. Counseling psychology, on the other hand, is more focused on helping us navigate life's general roadblocks, like managing stress, figuring out a career change, or working through relationship issues. Both are absolutely vital, they just tackle different kinds of challenges. And that idea of well-being leads us right into a field that's all about that mind-body connection: health psychology. Have you ever noticed you tend to get sick more often when you're super stressed out? Well, that's exactly what health psychology is all about. It explores how our thoughts and feelings can have a real, measurable impact on our physical health. These are the folks who design programs to help people quit smoking or stick to an exercise routine. Right, so far we've been looking at the individual, at me. But, we don't exist in a bubble, do we? So for our final section, let's look at the tools that help us understand how we operate as social animals. First up in this part of the toolkit is a branch that tells the story of our entire lives, from start to finish: developmental psychology. This field basically maps out our journey. It looks at how we change cognitively, emotionally, socially through every single stage of life, from the moment we're born, through the chaos of adolescence, and right into old age. It's the psychological biography of a human being. All right, now for the really fun stuff. What happens when you put all these individuals together in a room? That's the domain of social psychology. This is the branch that asks those fascinating and sometimes uncomfortable questions, like, why do we sometimes just go along with the group, even if we secretly disagree? A perfect, if sobering, example is the bystander effect. Studies show that the more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any one person is to help. It's all about how the presence of others can completely change the way we behave. And the toolkit gets even more specialized. You've got industrial organizational psychology, which applies all these ideas to make workplaces better. And then there's the fascinating world of forensic psychology, which brings these insights into the courtroom and criminal investigations. Phew, okay. We've just unboxed a ton of different tools. So let's step back for a second and see how they all fit together to give us the big picture. And here's probably the most important takeaway of all. None of these tools works in isolation. They're all interconnected. To really understand something complex, like, say, stress at work, you might need a cognitive psychologist, a social psychologist, and a health psychologist all lending their expertise. They're interlocking parts of one big system. And that's the thing, right? Psychology isn't some old, dusty textbook. It's a living, breathing field that's always changing. As our world gets more complex, the field adapts right along with it, creating new tools to understand what it means to be human today. Which leaves us with one last big question to ponder. In a world that's now filled with things like AI and global social networks, what new challenges is the human mind facing? And what kind of tool will the next generation of psychologists need to invent to help us understand it all? It's a pretty interesting thought. Thanks for diving in with me.